So how do you think social media impacts mental health as well? Because prior to social media being out there, bullies were in the school playground. Now it's as if bullies are in your household because they're at the end of the phone or at the end of your laptop. And there's a lot of mental health that's attached around the bullying as well. What do you think about social media and mental health?
Well, the one thing that I often say, because I asked a question. I say, so what's the biggest disease in the world? And people will say, oh, disease, cancer, etc. Which is obviously a massive thing. I'll say no. The number one disease in the world is worrying about what other people think of you. Yes. And I always say, and this is the polite version, because we're on camera, opinions are like belly buttons. Everybody's got one. Now, whether we take any notice or let those opinions affect us is our choice. That's the big thing that I attempt to impart on anybody that I'm working with or groups is it's only if you take somebody else's opinion or what they do or say that can affect us. So if we want to get involved, this is why sometimes you'll look, who were you looking at? You were looking at me funny. Because we're insecure. Or somebody says anything, oh, you were rubbish today. I know I still get it now. My granddad watched you play. He thought you were, he can't believe you actually played. You were that bad. Now the way that I respond to that now is I'll say to them, well, tell your granddad that he's a really good judge of a footballer. He knows what he's talking about. You don't come across many people that actually do. Because everybody's got an opinion.
The social media thing is another layer, right? So I used the word before, expectation. So you've got your own expectation of yourself. Yes. Your family and those close to you, your friends, the people that you love and care about, they've got expectations of you. Social media is another layer where anybody can have expectation of you. And let's have it right, a lot of the time it's false expectation, And I just feel that social media unfortunately, it's a platform for sad people to throw mud at people that don't deserve it. And then it's about coping with it. How do you cope with that? Do you not go on social media? Well, in some instances of the modern world, if you're a top footballer or actor or musician, you'll have to be on social media to build your profile and get your tens of millions of followers, to get your endorsements, to keep you popular, to keep you out there, and so on and so forth. And that just opens up more exposure that people can come at you with bad intentions. Trolls. Trolls. And that's the sad bit. That's the bad bit of social media. I know there are parts of it where Marcus Rashford, for instance, used it for good to get the school dinners. Amazing. But I think mostly it's not used for good. And so therefore it's about how do you deal with it? Well, me personally, I don't look at it. I'm not on social media. I'm on Facebook with my friends and family or whatever, but that's it. I'm told by my friends, people call me names and think, I don't care about people that I don't know. I honestly, and I'm not just saying it, I don't care what people that I don't know think of me. As long as my family and friends and my bosses at Sky and my peers, I care about their opinions. Yes. I don't care about, and that's the way I deal with it. But there are those out there there's a fellow commentator I won't name who over the years ago would commentate on a game and go on social media afterwards and see what people were saying. It really got him down. I said to him, what are you doing? Get off it. Don't be looking at it. And he came off it, and he
Consumes
was happier in that regard. And then there's recently, if we're talking football, there's a player at Tottenham Hotspur, at Spurs, who called Brennan Johnson, who was getting abused by Spurs fans to the point where he decided that he was going to come off it. And lo and behold, he scored in the next 5 games.
Brilliant.
Because it was like a weight lifted off his shoulder, a release. And that's what I'm saying. I look at him and I think, good for you. Don't you care what people that you don't know think about you? You just get on and be the best version of you.
It consumes you, doesn't it? If you are on it all the time, reading and absorbing whatever the trolls are writing. But what would you say is your advice on? Would you say it's better to come off it? It's better to be thick-skinned and just not even acknowledge it? What would you say? Because not everybody is as strong.
Well, I don't
as
think you can.
No.
If it's not in you, you can't become. I think it basically finding a mechanism that shuts it off for you. And us three will all have a different mechanism of dealing with that. And there'll be times that you might be able to deal with it, So it's talking is the biggest.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the the
it brings us round. So if it was a friend of mine being affected by people that he or she didn't know on social media, and they came to me, I would give them that attitude that I've just explained. In that, why are you caring that somebody that you don't know is calling you names or whatever? What about all of us that think you're brilliant and so on and so forth? So
it's also difficult, Don, as well, to give somebody advice if you've not actually gone through it yourself. I tend to try not do that. I think what's the biggest thing, I know how you feel. No, you don't, because you've not really been through that. I think it's a minefield, isn't it? Really, when you think about it, and everybody has some sort of pressure. They've got to have some sort of pressure in their life, no matter what it is. It's then how it manifests itself within you, whether you're going to let it grow. And social media is one of the biggest things that if you're constantly looking at it and you're not getting the views that you want, it must have a massive effect on you. I'm like Donna. I don't read them. Certainly about myself. I used to do that as a player. When I played, I never read the report. I know what I did and what I didn't do. I don't need some fella who's, not been there, not seen it. He might know that I've had a headache before the game, or I've got an injury or whatever. He's just reporting on what he sees, and that can depend on whether he likes you or he doesn't like you.
Yes, so there could be a biased opinion on that.
I've had that with reporters. I had a reporter once who, sadly, he's passed away now. We wrote at loggerheads. Always loggerheads. I didn't like him. I used to tell him he's got the skin of a rhino, everything else. There's nothing you say to him, and he was always coming back at me. And then he wrote a really nice article about me, and I'd left the club and everything else. But his part and shot was he didn't like me.
Okay.
That was his part. So I phoned him and I said to him, look, it's not that I didn't like you. It's what you wrote I didn't like.
Okay.
I didn't know him. You didn't know me. You didn't know my sense of humour. I didn't get to know your sense of humour whatsoever. I says, well, really, we were both shooting in the dark. But thank you for what you've written about me. It's very nice. If you'd wrote something bad about me, I probably wouldn't have took any notice of it and just left it. And then we realised that we didn't really know each other. So I was talking about him. He was writing about me. But we never really got to know each other. And it was quite, I know he's passed away and everything else, but, for nearly 8 years, we were at loggerheads. And he was writing things about me because I wouldn't give him an interview, and it got worse. And it probably blew up all out of proportion. And in the end, we stopped talking to each other.
Before it was that something would happen, and then it takes time before it hits headlines in the newspaper. Now it's so instant, isn't it? With smartphones and social media, it's like something can happen and somebody's not even just posted it. They can go live on social media. So the news or gossip or whatever it is spreading quite
And it's in game.
quickly.
And you know what? With respect to people, there are more followers in this world than leaders.
Yes.
So it only takes one person to say something, and there'll be a lot of people that
Yes.
will be influenced by that negative thing that person is saying and jump on board with it without really having their opinion on their own. They're just jumping on board. And I think social media, that's another element to it, really.
And the more successful the person is that's saying it, the more people will believe it's correct.
Yeah.
And, that's what, go back, so-called pundits, it's their opinion. It doesn't mean it's right, but people will believe it's right because they're saying it. That's
That's what
management. That's what I shut off. I wasn't going to believe I was going to get that when I went home, and my wife would say to me, why did you make that substitution and everything else? End up going home and having it without, listening to the press. So you're going to get it from all quarters. It doesn't matter. So as I said, my mechanism was just to close it all down.